Hello my friends, this is the Frontline update. We have some of the good news and the bad news for today. As you might see, Russia expands its territorial gains in Kupiansk direction and in the Kupiansk city itself. Those are the newly gained territories by Russia, and they offend to the city from two of the directions already, from the northern side and from northwestern side. The fights are already ongoing in the urban environment. Ukraine tries to extinguish those Russian infantry forces' advancements, but sometimes not so effectively as it could be. Russians go from one building to another, there are lots of the basements, so it's almost, I would say, for now impossible to kick them out from Kupiansk. Well, I don't know what it should be really to cut Russian attacks here, because this bridgehead, if we compare the situation in Pokrovsk, where Russia offended with kind of the thin attack vector, here, this bridgehead is already kind of big. Plus, Russians continue to send their reinforcements towards Radkivka. They occupied this village. The next step for them is to attack towards Moskovka. This settlement has different names. Well, before Russia already went there with sabotage groups and very close to Sobolevka, but Ukraine managed to repel this attack. However, with this bridgehead again, it's very complicated for Ukrainian army to withstand those attacks from north or the northwestern directions. Here I may admit that the tube operation played its great role in offensive towards Kupiansk. And here's more detailed map. I take it from the Maiko 73. Very good analytic. He analyzes all of the drone images and so on. The maps presented are pretty much legit, and you see that Russians are already in Kupiansk. They take more ground. Soon they might even go to the central part. Well, it's not even a town, it's the city, divided by river into two of the parts. Now I would say that for Ukraine it's time to think of how to withdraw the forces from this entire area. So why this Russian operation is so important? Because they may cut Ukrainian forces in the vast area. You see, there is the bridge, it is still okay. So the Oskil River goes like this. There is the bridge, but it was actually hit by Russia already. I don't know if you can see it here, but the railway bridge was totally kaputted well before, and Russia already hit this automobile part of the bridge. Here we have the new satellite images from Google. It seems like there were some of the jobs done by Ukraine to reinsure the supplements, but it's really hard to tell the condition of this bridge. Also, if I go a little to the north, here Russia also cut this bridge. They hit it several of the times. I'm out of the information if Ukraine was capable to reinstall it, and you see, destroyed villages in this place. Buildings ruined close to the bridge, Russia aimed towards it. And again, the main supply line goes via Kupiansk itself, and Russians already may hurt Ukrainian supplies using FPV drones, because they're very close. They do not advance here using some sort of the infantry vehicles or tanks, no, just infantry. Walking dead in many of the cases, but still they propel forward mid-wave after mid-wave. So what's the biggest mistake for Ukrainian command in this area? Well, it seems like Ukrainian army command thought that Russians would attack from this direction, that they will not dare to cross the river in the north, but they did it. Russians landed on the other coast, they created the small bridgehead and the big bridgehead, and they start to offense from the other side of the river, which is more trickier. Ukraine wasn't ready with its defense lines, extra reinforcements were sent, but Russia again used the tube operation to land in Radkivka, and from this place they again created this bridgehead and they use it for attacks. Well, before the Russian military command definitely wanted to advance to Kupiansk from Sinkivka, so from this side, but Sinkivka is very defended. For 2 years Russia actually wanted to take this small village, and they lost thousands of the infantry forces plus dozens of vehicles. This village is crazy for the Russian losses, that's why Russians went to this alternate route. For them it was more profitable, and actually they create more threats for Ukraine in Kupiansk and in this entire region. About Kupiansk, we have some extra information from OSINT Analytics. They say that Ukraine is transferring the 3rd Assault Brigade into the city. The transfer has already been ongoing since at least September 13th, according to my information. There was the screenshot published from some of the message. Well, I guess tomorrow I'll try to confirm this information, because I don't have direct connection with 3rd Assault Brigade, but sometimes they say about their movements themselves and they publish drone videos. It takes them usually several days to show the results of their drone operations. or another kind of operations using infantry forces. We will know it for sure, I hope, tomorrow. Yeah, it's quite logical to send the 3rd Assault Brigade to Sumy because they're not far away actually right now from that direction. From what I know before, they operated in Liman. Yeah, the deep state also confirms the difficult situation in Kupiansk. You can see that the gray area is in the central part of the city. I follow the Officer Plus who is out there on the front lines, who knows about the situation on the ground. He said that unfortunately Ukrainian military command wasn't really prepared for the defense of the city. Why? That's the other question. He's very disappointed, so I am too. He says that it shouldn't have been done like this. The command responsible for defense didn't take the precautious measures. Well, he personally, as many of the volunteers, many of the Ukrainian military officers, they wrote about the difficult situation which could appear in Kupiansk for already several months, like 2 months at least. Then Russia started the vast expansion here, not far away from Zapadne. And unfortunately, for now, I don't see how Ukraine might definitely close this bridgehead created. Well, it requires lots and lots of the reinforcements. You see, yeah, Ukraine used the fire teams in Pokrovsk direction and now they are required over here. That might be the strategy of Russia, you know, to push in different areas because Ukraine, after all, it doesn't have enough reinforcements to send those fire teams elsewhere, and the regular Ukrainian army, it is simply exhausted. It can defend territories for extensive period of time, but sometimes Russians may break through, as it happened in Pokrovsk before. So Ukraine has those separate brigades, corps and regiments to be used as the fire teams, like Azov, 225th, 47th, 3rd Assault Brigade. There are many, but still it's not enough to fight against the Russian army elsewhere. Now regular Ukrainian armies, like mobilized people from elsewhere, forced mobilization, you know, they are in lack of motivation, definitely. Many of them, let's say, tell the things as they are, guys. Because I know what is happening on the front line. So Ukrainian army, the regular one, is not as it was in 2022. Then our guys were really motivated and liberated all of this territory plus Kherson region. Yeah, it's not happening like this any longer. Simply out of the resources and in general exhausted. That's why volunteers like Sternenko and many others, they are calling for reforms in Ukrainian army. And I'm also calling about it because judging on what is happening on the front lines with Kupiansk, with the Russian breakthrough in Pokrovsk, that was eliminated. Yes, it was done correctly, but before Ukraine wasn't really ready for that Russian breakthrough. So we all have the questions to the competence of the Ukrainian army command, to some of the local commanders, but still they're way more competent than the Russians. If Russia had the Ukrainian military command, they would occupy half of the Ukraine already, but they are more incompetent, they're stupid Soviet idiots. That is actually what is profiting Ukraine in this war. But Russians learn, they evolve, so it's not gonna be like that all the time. No. Alright guys, now to the good news. It seems like Alexeyevka will be liberated very soon, if not yet liberated, because according to the information which is coming from the front lines, Ukraine is very close to push Russians close to the border. Also, if we go a little bit westbound here, Russians also leave this territory. They're actually jammed in this lake. They try to cross it. This picture was shared by our analytics. They say that Russians swim across the lake under the drone fire. Yeah, significant losses for Russia in Sumy, and President Zelensky again today stated that Russian operation in Sumy totally failed. They actually planned the attack towards the city of Sumy, but decided to change their plans and now will concentrate forces in Pokrovsk and Zaporizhia directions. About Pokrovsk direction and Konstantinovka, there were no changes for the last, I would say, couple of days. The information about the Russian encirclement here, well, some analytics say that Russians are being encircled, some say not. I guess Ukraine should take Mayak to reinsure the encirclement. And here is the possible one more encirclement. I've told about it, I guess already I'm telling for several of the days that Ukraine has the chance for it, but so far Ukrainian army wasn't able to cut supplies entirely. In Pokrovsk itself, you may see the expansion of the gray area here. In Zviro, where Russia expanded this attack, and they may send more sabotage troops to the settlement itself. Well, before it was similar with the Russian sabotage forces even entering the central part of the settlement, but later on they were repelled. So this Russian new attack also could be cancelled. If you go to the southwest, there is the Russian army movement yesterday and today. They gained more ground in those fields and they want to take Nova Ivanivka village. Yes, definitely there was the movement. Well, judging on the Russian movement for the last months, let's go to August 16th. And what it is today, so I would say that Ukrainian defense is not strong here. Well, I think I understand the idea of the Russian army here. They really want to go to Zaporizhia. They had multiple of the attempts to go directly from the south. They occupied Kamensk, but for now there's standstill there. At least for the last 10 days they cannot move further, and they send some of the extra forces to Orikhiv. They actually accumulate the forces even right now. Zelensky says that Russia may strike in Zaporizhia. I guess it might happen from Orikhiv direction. Russians actually already tried to attack there using the group of the armored vehicles, but this attack was totally cancelled by Ukrainian drones. And now we see how they move from this direction. As I say to you, the defense of Ukraine seems like not so strong in this direction. So in perspective, Russia may take this highway and to attack from this side, like from this side, from this side. So they have this plan. Whether this plan is real for them to make happen, I don't think so. They should concentrate like all of the forces in Zaporizhia direction, and that's how they may actually succeed, at least taking those roads under control, yeah, on the way to Zaporizhia. But Russians dispersed the forces elsewhere on the front lines, so for them to achieve this result, I don't think it's real with the current resources, with all of those problems with logistics and so on. And of course some of the images, for example, from the drone cameras, for you, my friends. This is the Bryansk region, Russian Federation, very close to Ukrainian border. Russia used this hangar for their military equipment, for supplies. You can see some of the motorcycle even here. Okay, motorcycle is no more. This is Ural truck. I wonder where are Russians, why they left this vehicle over there alone. Well, this vehicle is no more. Yeah, one more Ural truck. I think, yeah, it's different one because the previous one was kaputted, I guess. Here we go. Probably they sleep. Oh, there was there was munition hidden. And of course, you can see the result. And this is the course direction. You may see Bukhanka van violates some sort of the traffic rules, and it was punished right away. One more Ural truck was kaputted, UAZ and Bukhanka. I have tons and tons of those videos, my friends, presented by our volunteers, like Sternenko, for example. Oh my god, what is this? This is the standard detonator for the artillery shell, but you may see the markings. Oh my god, 1934. Probably I should not explain you what is depicted here. This detonator was found by 225th Assault Ukrainian Brigade, then they captured the Russian ammunition storage. Well, you know, actually in 30s there was cooperation between Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union. Then Soviet Union obtained some of the part of the munition, even motorcycles, those detonators, some of the shells. In its turn, Soviet Union sent some of the resources to Germany like aluminium or alloy to make airplanes, oil and other stuff. There was the real cooperation. And we see that even now Russia is using that munition that was supplied to them by Nazi Germany. Crazy! Almost 100 years have passed and munition is still out there. Alright, I have some of the images that I cannot really show you fully on this YouTube channel. Probably I'm gonna record separate video, especially for my supporters on Patreon. And on this channel membership, I'm gonna remove monetization from the video I want to publish. But here I want to show you some of the screenshots. Those are the Russian soldiers. Here they were ambushed a little by Ukrainian drones. Yeah, it was kind of interesting situation for them here. But from what I see, they have pretty much good equipment. All of those helmets, ammunition, everything is so solid, even the neck protection is here. Plus the Kalashnikovs which they use are more made, with some of the upgrade even. Here's the place to install something on top, there's the scope. Definitely the Russian army evolved for the last few years. Right guys, stand by for one more video from me today. I'm gonna film it in several hours. It's gonna be the general news update, so it was dedicated to the front lines only, and later on general news about Ukraine and maybe even more. And separate thanks again for my Patreon supporters. Guys, you make my job possible. Without your help, I wouldn't be able to film anything. So thank you again so much for it. And guys, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are and have a great time.